Yo, 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 what up, what up? It's your boy Dayvito, and we are Dead Religion, and I am not alone. I got my partner, my brother from another, Jerome Colbert with me. Talk to the people, man.
Man, how can you top that intro? I love this dude right here next to me, man. We back again just to share some love with you guys, man. We miss you. This episode, we're going to be talking about something that is hot and fiery and can change a lot of people's lives, and it's important. So stay tuned. We got some information coming, and can't wait to just love on you guys a little bit more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's get right into it, man. The name of this episode is Love Thy Enemies. Oh, man, listen, I got love for my folk. I got love for my people, my family, my friends, but it is so difficult to have love for my enemies. And part of the reason why we actually wanted to talk to y'all about this is because it's in scripture. So, Jerome, go ahead and hit with that scripture, man.
Yeah, man, so crazy that we're setting up for this and we have the same Bible verse that we documented for this episode. And it's Matthew 5:44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Power, power, power.
It is, man. It's powerful. Now, those are obviously the words of Jesus himself as he was instructing his people and telling them how you should live your life and treat people who maybe don't think like you, or maybe don't believe what you believe, or maybe they don't look like you, or maybe they don't like what you like. So the question today, if Jesus is telling us to love those that persecute you, essentially he's saying to love your enemy. Here's the big question of the day. What is an enemy? What is an enemy?
What is an enemy? That is a profound question, and I like to think of it actually a little bit different. But during this episode, we'll tell you exactly where it comes from, Webster's dictionary definition. And an enemy is one that is antagonistic to another, something harmful or deadly, adversary, a foe, or an opponent.
Man, that's crazy, because as I was trying to find what the definition of an enemy was, I came up with some of the same words: an adversary, a foe. In Webster's 1828 dictionary, it goes a little bit further, and it actually says that an enemy is one who hates or dislikes, and obviously in theology, the enemy is none other than the devil. So, you know, before we start kind of peeling the onion back, it's important to know what exactly is an enemy. And so I thought it was interesting, man, that was defined that way. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I took away from it, an enemy can be a lot of different things, but I like to actually simplify it for myself and categorize it as people that love differently. And like you said, the devil is one of those enemies, but do they really have to be an enemy, or are they just seeing love in a different light?
Man, that's so good.
Do you categorize them as an enemy when it's just somebody that's loving differently?
That is so good, man. Man, that's interesting. That's interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of times we do find ourselves classifying enemies, right? Like we classify them based off of our own preferences, our own lifestyle, our own experiences. You know, one of the things that I think an enemy can be that kind of stands out almost immediately is somebody that's harmed you, right? Somebody that has betrayed you, right? Somebody that has been disloyal, somebody that stabbed you in the back, right? Somebody that said they were going to do one thing, but they did another, right? You know, those are the types of things that I think is very, consistent across the board, so to speak, in terms of what an enemy is. And I'll take it a step further as well, because to me, an enemy isn't just somebody that maybe hurt you, but it could be somebody that hurt your loved one.
Right.
You know, your boy got beef with, you know what I'm saying, with this dude. So automatically, you loyal to him, then he got beef with you, right? I got kids, right? So if anybody were to harm my kids, I mean, they public enemy number one, right off rip, man. Like, you put in that box almost automatically based off of your actions. And so enemies for me has always been somebody whose actions have been harmful, betraying, disloyal, all of the above in that sense, and trying to figure out, you know, what an enemy is. To me, that's how I would define that. So
I like that, and it comes back to the foundation for me, and simply put, God is love. So you're to love people and you're to love God. So a lot of times when those people, those boys that they have wronged you, it comes back to where in their life that disconnect of love has happened. So now they don't know how to love you the right way, and they become, quote unquote, what society and culture defines them as an enemy. But is it somebody that just needs to have a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more careness, a little bit more conversation, understanding about those gaps that happen in their life, to really open them up to become a person that's not an enemy, but somebody that is relatable, somebody that you can help grow and help develop in that area. So,
man, I love that. I love that, and I actually agree with you 100% on that, man. You know, we couldn't have an enemies episode without, you know, some current events here. You know, and when I think about enemies, man, I mean, we live in a world now where it's you got to choose a side. You got to pick a side. You know, you either left, you're either right, you're either with this, you're either with that. Like, you know, people who disagree with your moral beliefs, people who disagree with your religious beliefs, people who disagree with your political beliefs. In the day and age that we live in now, those people are considered your enemy. And I think that's wild, dog. I think that's so wild because I find common ground with both sides. You know what I'm saying? And so many things that the world is trying to make you say, oh, well, you know, it's either this or that, whatever the case might be. Like, if you really seek understanding and you really know your why, and you try to explain that to somebody, if you keep an open mind, I don't know about you, bro, but for me, I find common ground on both sides. Everything is relatable to me.
And that's where the gap comes into place, right? So when you don't have that dialogue and someone's view is different than your view, then they attack you because they think that they're right and you're wrong. I mean, you had it recently. You had a conversation on social media with someone that had a different viewpoint.
I did.
And to close that gap, you bridge it through love. But part of that, it looks like is an enemy on social media is because that person didn't take the time to get to know your side, understand your side, and find out where that middle ground was so everybody could have, you know, an intelligent conversation and get to know each other.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't be a big of a wedge that it is in this society, and that's what happens. So.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you on that, man. And, you know, for those that don't actually know what Jerome is talking about, so our pastor has been very adamant about which side he's on, right? And not that he's picking a side, so to speak, it's just his convictions and the things that he believes is the way to live, right? I got a lot of respect for this man. He backs everything up through scripture. So he doesn't talk about it unless he actually is being about it, right? So he walks that walk, he don't just talk that talk. And this particular incident, man, I just happened to take a picture with my pastor, man, which is not uncommon. You know, I know many people who go to church, man, and, you know, pastors around, hey, let me take a picture with you or something like that, especially when it's men or people that you actually respect, people that you know, that mentor you, right? People that have helped kind of make you a better person and have really guided you or shown a light on that path, right? And so mine was no different than anybody else's, right? I happened to take a picture with the pastor. I ended up posting it. And it was just crazy because one guy on social media, you know, the little Twitter thugs, you know what I'm saying? You know, brave thumbs, you know, they just had a problem with it, you know, and they didn't agree with the way that he, you know, with his stance and his beliefs, and so
changed the whole energy of your picture, right?
Right. It gave it a whole new meaning because the picture was literally just a picture of like, hey, man, you know, I'm grateful for my church, love my church, you know, love my pastor and stuff, and yeah, it went left, man. It went left real quick, man. And, you know, there was a lot of comments about, you know, presidents and, you know, which political party. And, you know, as my response to him at first was, just like Jerome said, it was just to shower him with love. And I said, listen, man, I'm all about love. I'm about Jesus. That's my political figure. That's my basis of truth. That is my leader. That's my mentor.
So I'm going to stop you right there. So during that scenario, right, most people on social media, or most people in the world generally, like when that happens, they would automatically assume that person is an enemy. But you didn't. Your heart is filled differently. Your heart is about the leadership and the love that you are developing and learning. And you approach it totally different than other people would. And that's amazing to see. Like your growth just in that aspect because you didn't feel attacked. Most people will get attacked, and that's where distractions start to happen, and they go down a narrow path that they don't need to go down.
Yeah, see, I didn't take it personal, right? Because at the end of the day, you are entitled to believe whatever you want to believe And it's okay that you think differently
Right.
than I do. It's fine, right?
Right.
Like, for me, what makes all of us unique is the fact that we're all different.
That's it.
Right?
That's
And
it.
so for you, maybe you feel strongly on one side than the other side, right? At the end of the day, for me, it wasn't about which side I wanted to choose. For me, it was about who I follow. And to me, love trumps anything and all things, right? Like, love conquers all. And so as long as I could show that love to him, even for him being different, then for me, I felt like that was the best way to handle that situation, right? His approach was a little different, though. It seemed like the more love I showed, the more ingrained in his stance he became. But at the end of the day, sometimes you gotta agree to disagree, and you gotta move forward, right? But even despite all of that, I wouldn't consider him my enemy.
That's what I was gonna say. So back to the question. So what is an enemy? So again, it comes back to those are people that just love differently, and how your approach is going to be to that person really could put you in the enemy category if you're not having the time and the understanding to really care for that person that's going against you. So
yeah, absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%, man. So I guess to kind of bring this back to, because you're talking about me, right? And as much as I appreciate that, it kind of brings another thing to mind. And for a lot of us, sometimes our biggest, worst, and greatest enemies is actually ourselves.
yeah,
We can be so critical about who we are, who we think we are, or who other people say we are, that we literally look in the mirror and we hate ourselves. For some, you're riddled in shame, mistakes that you've made over and over and over again. It seems like you're learning the same lesson, but just a different week, right? Same day, different story, right? But it's the same lesson. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And for some people, they can't stand who they are. They feel defined by the mistakes that they've made or by the labels that have been placed on them. And so they walk with this cloud over them, right? It's like their spirit can't be free to just be who they want to be. And it's almost like they literally hate themselves. So to me, I feel like those people, their greatest enemies are themselves. The overcritical, the overjudgmental, the overthinkers. Not that there's anything wrong with overthinking, right? But as long as your thinking leads to a tangible and reasonable solution, then, by all means, right? I'm a thinker as well. But some people overthink the wrong things and tell themselves the wrong story, to the point where they not only believe it, but they project that to other people, man. I don't know if you know people like that, man, but I know a few that come to my mind.
Yeah, there's people around you every day. But again, I go back to you because I talked about your growth and your understanding in that situation. So it has to be, like you said, inside of yourself to really define that for yourself and change the narrative and grow in a different way. Those challenges are not going to stop. Those enemies are not going to stop. Those defeated moments are not going to stop. But how's your mindset? How are your actions going to shift the way you react in that scenario, in that situation, and look on the positive side and change the outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. It's sad to see people who, or to even know some people that, look at themselves in the mirror and don't see the image of God in them.
Yeah.
They don't see the greatness that's within them.
That's it.
Right? The fact that they've been created with a purpose, that they've been created not to be mediocre, not to be average, but to be above average, to prosper, to win in life. You know what I'm saying? And, a lot of times when people are thinking like that or they walk like that, they attract that as well. And so you find that the people who have the most problems in their life are usually very problematic people themselves. And so, it is very, very sad. At the end of the day, we don't judge nobody, right? We just want everybody to be able to step into the truth and be able to walk in their likeness and walk into who God has called them to actually be. So, to wrap it up just a little bit here, man, I know, what I'm saying, we kind of beat this question to death here a little bit, man, but
it's a big question to ask because people walk around on eggshells because they think that their enemies define who they are a lot of times, and their enemies are a picture of themselves, and that's totally not the case. So.
Yeah. Or, there's a lot of people who find problems in other people, and they don't even know what. I don't know, just something about her. I don't know what it is about that dude, but I don't like that guy.
Right.
And they don't even really know why, right? Like there's just something within them that just says, oh, I don't like that person, right? But they can't even pinpoint it. You know what I'm saying? So, be very careful as to who you label an enemy. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's a lot of labels that people have called you, names that people have called you that isn't true. Not at all who you are in any way, shape, or form, right? So when you're thinking about a foe or an adversary, right, the only foe and the only adversary that's really out there is the enemy. And when we say the enemy, we talking about theology. We talking about the devil. But stay tuned, because listen, we're going to break this down. We're going to peel this onion back a whole lot more. Next week's, we're going to break it down. What is the purpose of an enemy? I mean, if you got to know what an enemy is, there's probably a purpose behind why you got an enemy in the first place. Could be good, could be bad. But stay tuned, man. This is Dead Religion. My name is Dayvito. That's Jerome Culver. And we are out.